Hey, what's up, guys? We're back with another video, and definitely continue to like and subscribe and share. I've seen sharing on like Facebook and different places. So to get these videos out there, definitely wanting to help people and grow the kingdom of God, strengthen the people of God. And obviously this week, we are focusing on suicide prevention and awareness. So don't forget, we've got a special guest on the podcast coming out today, later this afternoon. That's going to be awesome, a powerful testimony. And I wanted to round this out with a discussion drawing from 2 Corinthians, specifically 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 through 18. Paul, I think, really breaks something down for us. And I think it absolutely will help every single believer to develop this kind of mindset. But people who are feeling hopeless, people who are really going through the darkness right now, you're really in despair or feeling despair, disenfranchised with life or whatever it might be, right? You start feeling depression creep in or anxiety and just, again, that hopelessness. These scriptures should be scriptures that you turn to consistently. Obviously, the entire book of Philippians, like I said yesterday, but and Paul says in verse 16, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, he says, we do not lose heart. We don't lose heart. We don't give up hope. We do not lose heart. And then he goes on in this discussion, and he says, even though we're perishing, we're fading away outwardly, inwardly we're renewed daily. Then he goes on and says, for our light and momentary troubles or afflictions, the things we're going through, they're light, they're momentary, and they are working out in us an eternal glory that outweighs them. Finally, he says in verse 18, so, or therefore, we fix our eyes, we focus our eyes on the things that are unseen rather than the things that are seen, because the things that are seen are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. So a lot there to unpack, but first, he kind of encompasses the entire discussion with we don't lose heart. Why would he have to say that? What's the context here? Why would he? Because Paul is realizing it is possible to lose heart, right? I said yesterday, talked about Paul and how he said, if this life is the only place I have hope, I am absolutely miserable. Above all men, he actually said, I'm most miserable. And this goes to that. He recognized that, yeah, we can be very miserable. Depression, despair, hopelessness, these things can absolutely set in. They are realities. These are not things we should just be like, oh, well, if you go to church, you attend worship service and, you got the bumper sticker, WWJD, and, therefore you're immune. That's not true. And so he specifically says we don't lose heart. But then he contextualizes, right, that statement. We don't lose heart. Well, it's not mind over matter. We will not lose heart. What he's saying is, this is why we don't lose heart, right? He actually specifically says we're wasting away. We've got troubles. We've got afflictions. We've got problems coming at us on all sides. But we don't lose heart. Why? Because of where we place our hope. Because of where that heart is, right? And Jesus said, where your treasure is, that's where your heart's going to be, right? So Paul is telling us what we truly treasure, where we place our affections, our focus, our heart needs to be on things eternal, not things in this life, things eternal. Maybe it's money, maybe it's relationships. I don't know what you may be going through or what people that you might be working with, or people in your family or friends or coworkers, what they may be going through. There's lots of things that people can go through that cause severe depression, anxiety, and can lead to suicidal thoughts or suicidal tendencies, even attempts at suicide. And we need to keep something in mind. There are multi-millionaire, right? Multi-million dollar movie stars, right? Millionaires that commit suicide. They've got the fame, they've got the power, they've got the money, and they commit suicide. How is that possible? There are people with tons of relationships, great family, wonderful kids, awesome spouse, friends, and just, and then they commit suicide, and everybody's like, we have no idea, we didn't see this coming, we don't know what's going on, and takes everybody by surprise, right? Because ultimately, nothing in this life can truly, ultimately, eternally fulfill. Not money, not fame, not power, not relationships. If there's a void in our life where we want a relationship, and then someone comes into our life, that might ease the pain some. That might fulfill part of the void, but the ultimate void is eternal. We cry out for God, and the only relationship that's going to fulfill eternally is a relationship with God where our spirit can commune with His. And that's what every person really is built for and desires, even though they don't recognize it sometimes. Money is the same thing. Now, this is not to say that when you're going through something, you're in the, a 2, 3, 4, 5 year relationship, and that person breaks it off, right? You're in a marriage, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. And that person, comes in one day and says, it's over, I'm walking out. You're pulled into your boss's office and round of layoffs. You don't work here anymore. We're sorry. We're going to have to let you go. The bank's calling. They're going to take your house. The weight of these things is crushing. The weight of these things on our hearts, on our minds, on our spirits, on our souls. These things, now they are temporal, they're earthly, but they can cause spiritual damage. They can cause, it can creep into a spiritual pain. That's absolutely possible. And so we need to do what Paul says here, and we've got to set our hope, set our affection, set our ultimate purpose on things eternal, because those things that we're going through sometimes are actually working out and helping us to be better from an eternal perspective. Could it be that, similar to going to the gym, where you're not going to get stronger, you're not going to get better if you don't put a little more resistance on that bar, right? It's when the muscles are torn and then are rebuilt that they come back stronger. Could it be that sometimes situations God is using, like a potter to clay, using that situation to break us down so that we can get impurities like pride pushed out of our spirit? Things like an over-reliance on ourself, a lack of dependence on God. Maybe we actually, our motives for that relationship, actually deep down, they weren't really right. Or maybe there's carnality there in our spirit that we didn't recognize before. And this is what Paul is saying, right? This is what he's saying. They are these afflictions, these troubles that we go through, they are working out a eternal glory. And it's funny that Paul says our light and momentary afflictions. This is a guy who they tried to stone him to death, shipwrecked, thrown in and out of prison constantly just for preaching the gospel. So if anybody should be able to look at affliction and trouble and pain and all this and say, this is too much, this is crazy, it's Paul. But look at his attitude. Why? How can he say light and momentary? Paul, you should be one of the most depressed guys on the face of the planet in all of history. because his hope, his affection, his heart, his treasure was found on things eternal. And that's why he said, we fix our focus, our eyes. That's what we do. God does not do that for us. We have to do that. We have to say, I see these things, and I'd prefer to have more money, better relationships, right? Right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, where the rubber really meets the road, my affection, my treasure, my hope is set on things eternal. And that's how we cannot lose heart. I love you guys. God bless you. Hope this series has helped you. Hope this video is helping. Please share and get the word out there to help people that might be in that vein and just need to hear an encouraging word from the Lord. And again, I think this applies to all of us. So we should check ourselves and make sure that we have our focus, not on things that are temporary, but on things that are eternal.